Justin Marks continues to stick up for his guy, Ross Chastain, and with the Cup Series racing at Road America this weekend, I want to talk about this race as a long-term July 4th weekend tradition. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. I hope you've had a wonderful week. We've got a few stories I want to talk about. I want to react to some recent comments Justin Marks made on Dale Jr.'s podcast, but I also want to talk about Road America because in recent weeks there have been some rumors, some rumblings that its future on the NASCAR schedule is far from certain. And I feel like I didn't do a good enough job a couple weeks ago sticking up for this track, so I want to do that here today, just in time for Saturday and Sunday's NASCAR action. First, if you're new to the channel and you love NASCAR, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content. Let's start with Justin Marks, and actually before we talk about what he said on Dale Jr.'s podcast, he's going back racing in NASCAR. He's also running the SRX race tomorrow night, but today it was announced he will also run a Truck Series race for, you guessed it, Nice Motorsports at Mid-Ohio later this season. Mid-Ohio was of course the site of Marks's one and only NASCAR win as a driver back in 2016, I believe. That rain-affected race, he just ran circles around the field. This isn't the first time Trackhouse and Nice have been linked. Of course, Daniel Suarez filled in for Carson Hocevar at Sonoma a few weeks ago. That Worldwide Express partnership bringing these two teams together. Pretty exciting stuff. Going to be curious to see how Justin Marks performs after not racing in NASCAR for a couple years. I think he's even running a Trans Am race this weekend at Road America, if I'm not mistaken. As busy as Justin Marks is as a team owner, I don't know how he's fitting in all these races, to run as a driver. Still pretty cool. Between running a team and now racing a bunch of different cars in different series, he also has time to speak to the media. He was on the Dale Jr. Download this week, and I listened to the episode, but I want to pick out one specific conversation. Because you'll remember a few weeks ago after Gateway, when Ross Chastain made some enemies, got into it with Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, after the race was really down on himself, just saying that he made a ton of mistakes and it's unacceptable to do that. You'll remember that Justin Marks came out shortly afterwards and defended his driver to the bitter end, saying he didn't think Ross Chastain did anything wrong, not a single thing, and accused the top drivers in the sport of not being welcoming to Ross Chastain, saying that the top 5 guys don't like there's a newcomer there. At the time, I completely understood what Justin Marks was doing. He was sticking up for his driver, who's in the championship hunt this year. In fact, right now he is still in the regular season championship points hunt, and he had just come off a bad race and was really, really down on himself. So Justin Marks being that motivational figure threw all of his support behind Ross Chastain. So I understand what he was doing, but I still thought he was a little over the top. Like, Chastain did nothing wrong? Seriously? This week, talking to Dale Earnhardt Jr., Justin Marks, I think, was a bit more self-aware or maybe honest with himself when discussing Ross Chastain and the controversies he's been involved in this year. I'll play you some of the clip. He did maintain a few things, like he still wants Ross Chastain, generally speaking, to be an aggressor. And he also still feels like a lot of the top drivers don't like that he's there. Anyway, I'll play some of the clip. Here you go.
He's got to learn Denny, and he's got to learn Chase, and he's got to learn Joey and Kyle and Martin, all these guys, right? So, and they're all different, and they're all in different degrees unhappy to see him there. I told him one time, I was like, you're not necessarily doing anything wrong by going out there and fighting. I mean, you can make some better decisions in moments, but just your general level of aggression isn't wrong. You've just entered a chat that you're not really welcome in.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Because these guys are used to racing against these guys every single week, and now all of a sudden you're here every single week, and they're not reacting well to it. But you can't be knocking people out of the way every lap of every week too.
That last bit there, he finally admits that, okay, hey, maybe what Ross Chastain did at Gateway was a little over the top. You gotta reel some of that in. You can't make those mistakes every week. So I agree with that. To me, that's a much more reasonable take. But he's still doubling down on his take that a lot of the top drivers just don't like seeing him there. I still think this is a really interesting take. Obviously, Justin Marks is in the garage way more than I am. He has much stronger relationships with more influential people than I do. So there is for sure credibility to what he's saying. It's like anything. Veterans of any industry are going to be skeptical of the new guy, the new kid on the block at first. Drivers like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, they've raced each other for a long, long time. They've raced each other for wins for a long, long time. They have a good understanding of how each other races and in what kind of scenarios. Ross Chastain has come in kind of like a bull in a china shop and has blown the whole thing up. So I think Justin Marks is right that just naturally being that new guy in the top 5 is going to cause people to race you a little differently or be skeptical of you. But I do think Justin Marks is still overlooking the fact that Ross Chastain has been, like I just said, a bull in a china shop for many, many years, long before he was in competitive race-winning equipment. Ross Chastain has had this kind of reputation in the garage for years. Like, let's go back to when he was with JD Motorsports in the Xfinity Series, driving that 4 car. And yes, he did point his way into the playoffs one year, but that's a mid-pack team. He was ruffling feathers on a regular basis. He got in a fight with Brendan Gaughan at Texas in like 2017. It's not solely that Ross Chastain is suddenly winning races and the other guys are mad about it. It's that he's running up front more, which means he's bumping into them a lot more, the way he's bumped into guys mid-pack and back in the pack for many, many years. It's that it's on TV more because he's running up front. We see more of these smaller incidents that drivers remember. We gotta remember that unlike many of the other young guns who've broken into the Cup Series in recent years, Ross Chastain raced on a budget for most of his career. Like, yeah, he started racing when he was like 12 years old, really young, like a lot of other young prospects these days. But he was a watermelon farmer. They raced on a budget more times than not. He was still able to win a lot of short track races in his home state of Florida. He got a solid opportunity with BKR, Brad Keselowski, in trucks in like 2013, but it was a part-time schedule. He didn't run the full season, and it ultimately didn't materialize into any long-term deal with Penske or Ford or anything like that. Chastain was racing mid-pack or worse level equipment in trucks, Xfinity, and he was even in like the 15 car in Cup for a short period. Premium motorsport. So for years and years, Chastain raced with a chip on his shoulder. This year, 2022, is the first year where Ross Chastain is in a truly top tier elite level ride, a car that can win more than maybe one race a year. He's getting used to it, and unfortunately he has to get used to it in front of all the cameras, in front of all the superstars of the sport. He's racing next to the Kyle Busches and the Denny Hamlins and the Joey Logano's on a weekly basis. So he's had a major spotlight on him when he's made these young driver mistakes. I'm just saying, I think some of the resentment top drivers and teams have for Ross Chastain goes beyond the fact that he's just the new kid. It has to do with how he races on the racetrack and how he's raced on the racetrack throughout his NASCAR career, whether he's been in backmarker equipment, mid-pack equipment, or now top-level equipment. One thing has been consistent: the way Ross Chastain races his competition, and that's going to ruffle feathers. Still, I respect that Justin Marks is 100% behind his drivers. He will defend them, he will support them, no matter what. To me, that is the foundation of potentially the next NASCAR super team. All right, I went on about that a little longer than I meant to. Moving on from Justin Marks and Trackhouse, I do want to talk about Road America this weekend. This is actually a good segue. This is the 3rd road course race of the year. The previous 2 road courses this year have been won by the 2 Trackhouse drivers. Safe to say they'll probably be contenders this weekend as well. But Road America is back, 2nd straight year. It falls on the July 4th Independence Day weekend. And I sure hope this isn't the last time this happens. I remember about a year ago, to the day, many fans, many in the NASCAR world, were highly skeptical of Road America taking this slot on the schedule. Believe me, I remember all the angry comments and tweets from fans who were upset that Daytona had been moved from this slot. They moved Daytona to the regular season finale. Road America, a road course in the middle of nowhere. We haven't raced there in 60 years. What's that doing on this important holiday weekend? A lot of naysayers a year ago today. Last year's Road America race, and I would just say overall weekend event, was fantastic. It was hot, but estimates of over 100,000 fans rolled out into the hills of Wisconsin for Sunday's Cup Series race. Fans realized pretty quickly that, hey, maybe this event has some real staying power. And with Daytona moving their summer race to the regular season finale, all the drama that comes with that, I think pretty quickly fans began to accept this new normal as a potential new tradition, with Road America being run on July 4th weekend for years to come. I know I certainly did. That's what I talked about after the race during my post-race recap a year ago. And I still feel that way now. Obviously, this weekend's race, we don't exactly know what the attendance will look like. I think the weather's looking to be a little more mild than it was last year, and the race this year doesn't land exactly on July 4th. I actually think that would help attendance theoretically, so hopefully it's a great turnout. Unfortunately, I won't be there this year, but I know people that will be. I think they'll have a lot of fun. I hope the race is good, and I hope this continues to be a new 4th of July tradition. Unfortunately, that may not happen. You may recall a couple weeks ago, Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal reported that Road America does not have a contract with NASCAR for next year. And he reported that the Chicago street race is close to becoming finalized, and theorized that Chicago could take Road America's place on the schedule. Look, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, why have two road courses within a couple hours of each other in the same Midwestern region, run likely in the same month? Because I think a Chicago street race would likely take place during the summer. It's the only time you could probably race comfortably in the Chicago area. And same goes for Road America. So I don't think both can exist. I don't think you can have Road America and a Chicago street race. I mean, you could, but it would be cramped. Things would get cramped, and I don't think NASCAR would go that route. I've said it time and time again, but I love the idea of NASCAR adding a street race in a major American city. Chicago wouldn't be my first pick, but I love the prospect of bringing the sport to the people. Even if the racing product on a street course isn't the most exciting, I think the event as a whole would be a worthwhile investment if NASCAR has all the proper infrastructure in place to retain any new fans it gains. But I said it a couple weeks ago, and I want to make it clearer now. I truly hope we don't drop Road America to make the street race happen. I understand contractually why it may be the only option that makes any sense, but to me, if that's truly the case, I'd hold off on the street race until maybe the new TV deal, when you can get really wonky, really wacky with the schedule. Maybe some of your existing contracts with SMI begin to expire, with changes on the horizon. Maybe that's the chance you have to really make a serious splash with a street race in a major city. I'd hate to see Road America's new July 4th tradition disappear less than 2 years in. As much as I love the idea of a street race in a major city, at the expense of Road America, I seriously hope NASCAR officials are reconsidering that. A street race would be so expensive, and as I talked about a couple weeks ago, I'm not convinced NASCAR right now has the infrastructure in place to maximize any potential gains they might get from a street race. Hold off on the street race until maybe you have a much better video game that can actually retain some of the young fans you gain. Hold off until you have a better, more modern broadcast, although I know NBC seemed to do pretty good last week. Still, I think there can be improvement. Maybe wait until the next TV contract. If NASCAR drops Road America in favor of the Chicago street race, it's purely to chase TV ratings. They're trying to maximize ratings in 2022, 2023, 2024 so that they can get a much larger TV contract in 2025. It's all a numbers game. They're fine with losing money in the short term if it means a larger multi-billion-dollar contract in the long term. And I understand it from a business perspective perhaps, but they simultaneously run the risk of alienating a lot of fans in the Midwest who were finally starting to come around on this Road America July 4th tradition, which I think should be here to stay. We'll see what happens. There's still a possibility that Chicagoland Speedway returns next year. It sounds like NASCAR's got that kind of waiting in the wings in case Chicago street race talks fall apart last minute. Maybe there's a chance they both exist on the schedule next year. I'd be surprised. So either way, the Midwest region up there around Chicago, Wisconsin may start to get really crowded. And if that's the case, I don't feel good about Road America's future. And it's a shame because it's a cool track. Not the best racing, not the best facility in the world, kind of in an odd location, kind of middle of nowhere, but boy, it's historic, and it fits July 4th perfectly. America's independence, Road America. In fact, it's on USA Network this year. Like, the theming couldn't be more perfect. Anyway, share your thoughts down in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of losing Road America? Do you want to see Road America continue as the July 4th race for many years to come? Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure to chime in on all things Justin Marks, Ross Chastain. Always appreciate hearing you guys' takes down in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, again, hit that subscribe button. We talk NASCAR nearly every single day here on Out of the Groove. And as always, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate your support. We'll be back Sunday afternoon after the Road America Cup Series race. Hopefully we'll have something exciting to talk about. Third road race of the year. Maybe a surprise winner? Maybe we get our 13th different winner on the year? Put that 16 winner story, give it some more juice the final few weeks? I don't know. Thanks for watching, y'all. We'll talk again real soon.